down. We the talk around town. Alex threw the ball to Smokey for a touchdown. It's fourth down and you don't really want no more. We've been winning from the door. You should check the scoreboard. Check the scoreboard.
Welcome back to the scoreboard. We have predictions today because it's NFL Honors Week. It's the Pro Bowl games week. The whole Manning Pro Bowl. If you want, we can talk about that later as well. If you have a prediction for that, but I guess we'll quickly talk about the championship games first. Super Bowl coverage is going to be next week because we have 2 weeks to kind of talk about it. And today is going to be all about the NFL honors. We didn't make a predictions video before the season, like an official one at least. So it's going to be today's topic, MVP, all the other awards. We'll talk about this episode. First of all, Smokey, how are you doing?
Oh, man, I am good. I am better than 49ers fans right now.
Really?
Because apparently the NFL is rigged. Did you hear this?
I've heard that apparently, but if you're going to bring that up, you should talk about Bengals fans because there's no rigging the NFL could have done to have the Niners win that game without a quarterback.
Yeah.
It was impossible. Like, see, if Purdy stays in this game the whole time, and it's a close one, it's a one-score game at the end, yeah, we're talking about officiating, and we're talking about defensive penalties because there's a lot of things I could criticize, right? Was it uncharacteristically stupid to commit that many penalties on defense? Yeah. Was the officiating terrible? Absolutely. Did it matter for the outcome of the game? Not one bit. Not with the injuries. I mean, listen, if you can't throw a forward pass, you're not going to win a football game.
Yeah.
It's just not. It doesn't matter who you are. It's not going to happen. Like, I saw like in the middle of the third quarter, like both quarterbacks were out, and like McCaffrey putting on the Brock Purdy's helmet to get the calls with the microphone, and like everyone was just standing in the huddle, just basically laughing, like, what is going on? So that's like, there's no real like blame to dish out for this. I know people always are looking for someone. If you're looking for someone to blame the league for the two quarterbacks rule and not having teams going with 3 quarterbacks anymore. But I mean, at that point, we're talking about a 5th string quarterback. That is someone who came on, who wasn't even on the practice squad usually. That's someone who came on deep into the season, who has no shot of. They'll probably be like Kurt Bankert or something for the Niners this year if they had another.
Steve Young was warming up in the parking lot, though. Steve Young
posted a tweet saying, "I'm warming up in the parking lot," which would have been at that point probably the best option. Like, not even no. There's no one to blame for this. If you're religious, you'll blame God, and if you're not religious, then it's just one of those things that happens. So, well, yeah, there's no point. It's like you burn the game film and you go again next year.
Here's the thing, man. People are saying that it didn't matter if Brock Purdy would have played the whole game because the Eagles won by such a great margin. But the fact is, when you have a quarterback that can't push the ball downfield, then the defense cannot hold up when they're on the field so much of the time. Like, the defense gets tired, and therefore it left the Eagles. Because early in that game, the 49ers defense was running. They weren't allowing passes downfield. Like, that run game took over when the defense got tired. And that's how it became such a big margin. But I think if Brock Purdy would have played that whole game, it would have been very competitive. And maybe even the 49ers would have won.
It would have been close. It would have been like this. The Eagles are fantastic, and they played very, very well. Even, of course, given everything, defense was sort of a joke because you can stack the box with 8 people and you know exactly what's coming. But yeah, the Eagles played fantastic offensively and scoring 35 points or 31 points. It was probably enough to win, but there's no way to say that. You just can't tell because say Purdy doesn't get hit on that play, he gets an extra second. That play might be a touchdown. I don't know if you've seen the all-22 angle of that, but he had a deep post route actually coming open. So if he has another second, that might be a big gain. They might score on that drive. We're tied up. It's 7-7 and it was 14-14 later. It's a different game. If he stays in, of course. And then suddenly, the missed call on the first drive matters where it was not a catch, and other sort of questionable penalties that were called later in the game that ended up not mattering. Still doesn't make the NFL look good, but it didn't matter because you just can't win without a quarterback. It's just not possible. So
yeah.
You can't blame a coach. I think people want to blame Shannon or whatever for like getting his quarterbacks hurt, but like, how is that his fault?
Oh, yeah. No, definitely not Shanahan's fault. The quarterback situation is just unfortunate. Like you said, it was a practice squad guy out there playing when Purdy went down. Like, that was a bad injury, too. Like, it looked horrible when he went to throw the ball and just basically twisted his arm backwards.
He has it's called a UCL tear, which has happened twice in the entire history of the NFL to a quarterback. That's, it's not an injury that happens. It's just a complete freak accident, and it's as far as I understand, it's basically the equivalent of the ACL tear, but in the arm. So, like, you know, an ACL takes like 9-10 months for people to come back from, so that's a huge deal. This one, they're saying about 5 to 6 months he's getting surgery. He should be good to go for training camp, as will Trey Lance with his injury. So come August, both of them should be 100% go, which is all that matters now. And then, you know, we got a whole another talk coming up there.
I'm looking
if
at
you want to talk. Go ahead.
I was just saying, I was looking at a new news blurb that came in today at 2:47 p.m. Trey Lance says he will be 100% for OTA. So I think you guys are going to have a quarterback battle, and I'm going to trust my instincts and say Trey Lance is the quarterback at the start of next season.
He's got to take it, though. He's behind. Right? The draft stock be what it will. He is behind now. He's got to go and win the job actively. Right? He doesn't defend it, but it's Brock Purdy's job, and he has to go get it. I want to definitely see that. I want to see quarterback battle. Both of them are on rookie contracts. They're very cheap. They'll definitely keep them both around. It makes no sense to trade one of them. Garoppolo's gonna be gone, so yeah, it's gonna be good. It's a good problem to have, if you will, right? Yeah, you have to pick between two potentially very good young quarterbacks. But we'll see. I honestly, I don't mind if either of them or both turn out to be great. I don't mind. I really don't. It's a good problem to have. If you do want to talk about officiating, though, because you brought it up, we got to look at this other game. Okay, this is a problem. There's a problem here. And it's getting to the point that mainstream media are covering it, and that is a big deal. Because the NFL and media covering the NFL has been politically correct when it comes to protecting the officials to sort of a laughable degree over the past few years. And remember Joey Bosa in the Jacksonville game? He ended up getting fined for criticizing official decision more than anyone would, probably more than like people get fined for like the worst personal fouls you can imagine. Because that's how protective the league really is of the officials, and that is an issue. Okay, that is a major issue. The fact that this is a topic that is like politically not acceptable to speak about publicly is a major flaw. I'm glad Pat McAfee brought it up so openly on his show because he has a very broad influence. This is something that needs to be discussed openly at the owners' meetings, because this is the most valuable entertainment sports business league in the entire world, and having games, or the most important games, this game was played in front of over 50 million people, by the way, decided or influenced to such a degree by, as I always like to call it, old guys with a stick and a chain. Whereas you can manage to have you have microchips in every single football, in people's shoulder pads and their cleats, measuring like the whole next gen stats thing. But you can't officiate, you can't enforce the rules of the game, which are getting more complicated by the year, by the way. You just can't enforce them. That is a problem. That is a huge problem, and that needs to be talked about. This game, yeah, Bengals fans should be mad about this, because remember the Super Bowl last year, same thing happened. They got a phantom pass interference out of absolutely nowhere called on Logan Wilson in the end zone that eventually ended up deciding the game. And in this game, it was a lot of things that just happened to go against him. You know, Joe Burrow roughing the passer, which was like much clearer roughing than the one against Patrick Mahomes at the end that went uncalled. Clear block in the back on that final punt return, and some kind of willy-nilly pass interferences, though we see those all the time. It's just a blown game, and having that in two games back to back, and it's the championship games, the most important ones, and having it in front of such a big audience, it's kind of happened to the point where the league can't hide it anymore. And I think one thing that McAfee brought up that's very important is it's time for professional refs. Like, exclusively professional full-time refs that are paid well enough, that are trained well enough for this kind of thing to just, it needs to be gone, right? You cannot cheap out on officiating. It's not possible.
Oh, absolutely. And the NFL makes enough revenue to afford full-time professional referees. There's no doubt about that. I think I first started taking notice of this. Remember when the Jaguars played the Patriots, and what was that, 17 or whatever, when they had their little run in the playoffs with Bortles, and it looked like that entire game that they were like, Brady is winning this game. And Brady's been a big part of all the NFL is rigged comments throughout the seasons, I guess until lately. No, even this year. The Falcons, the roughing the passer.
Right, against Grady Jarrett.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Like, yeah, it is absolutely getting ridiculous. And I know the NFL doesn't like the NFL is rigged comments going on. So how do you get rid of that? For one, you can't penalize people for criticizing the referee. That's ridiculous. Because the referees are bad in many games.
They're objectively bad.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like they are biased in many situations. I mean, you can call it protecting assets with Brady or something like that. The guy that makes the NFL the most money, we have to protect him. And Mahomes is pretty much one of those guys these days. So, yeah, something has to be done, or they could lose viewership. I'm sure they feel Teflon. They feel untouchable at this point because it is the biggest sport in the world, basically, I guess, next to soccer. But definitely in America and a few other countries. Something has to be done. Absolutely. They got to stop protecting the refs for sure. I don't know. I don't know what the sport becomes if this narrative continues to grow in the future. Like, what happens when half the world...
League, the league is going to lose reputation over this because, like, imagine this scenario, right? Whether there's games rigged or there's, like, the NFL has certain interests to promote, sure, that is true. Outright rigging games, at least for 100% certainty, is difficult to do, but here's the thing. Let's assume this, right? No games are rigged. Games are not rigged. It doesn't exist in the NFL. Mm-hmm. If your officiating is so bad that it legitimately looks like the games are rigged, you have to. Something needs to happen. Mm-hmm. Something has to happen.
I mean, I would like to think that's only what's happening here, but it tends to happen for certain teams and certain players more often than others. So just look at YouTube. You can just type in NFL is rigged in YouTube and find videos for days. There's so many people jumping on this bandwagon. It's crazy. Like, some of them are ridiculous. It goes from sublime to ridiculous in that case. But some of them have some points here. And these situations are going to come back to haunt the NFL if they don't do something about this.
Absolutely. And here's another concern, by the way. The ref salaries, especially on part-time, they are not immune by any means if someone showed up with a 5 or 6 figure sum and had an interest in nudging a game in a certain direction. These refs would be stupid not to take it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Given how they're not paid all that well, and their job security isn't necessarily great. So yeah, the NFL has to invest in that.
Oh,
has
absolutely.
to invest in officiating. There's really no other way going forward. But the main thing we want to talk about today, NFL honors, right? Mm-hmm. Best week ever. We get the Pro Bowl games, the reimagined Pro Bowl games, coached by the Manning brothers. But we also get the NFL honors. So we have a couple of awards to pick here. I picked out the most important ones as always. I'm not talking about like assistant coaches and what else? Walter Payton Man of the Year, the most prestigious award that no one cares about ever.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the most important ones. We have our picks. We'll go through them. And we'll look at the finalists and we'll make our arguments sort of for them. And I have one. I don't know. I should say start with this or do it in the end. I think I'll do it in the end because I have a theory that allows the 49ers to win almost every single award, and it's not too implausible at all. But let's go through these first.
Yeah.
let's start with Coach of the Year, and I'll give it to you first to go.
Coach of the Year. A lot of these I have who I would pick myself, and then I have who I think will win. And for Coach of the Year, I am sticking with Brian Daboll because that guy did more with less than any other coach in the league. He completely turned around the Giants. The Giants have been bottom of the barrel probably since 2018, or the last, maybe more like 2016 maybe was the last time with Manning that they made a playoff run. And he absolutely took next to nothing on that offense and made something out of them, made them contenders, and I think going into the future they're going to be great. But however, I would pick Brian Daboll. I think Nick Sirianni ends up winning this. I know it's supposed to be a regular season award and a turning around your franchise award, but these playoffs really do matter, in my opinion, in the end. So I think Nick Sirianni probably wins, but I would go with Daboll.
Okay, I'm gonna throw a third name in here. I'm gonna go Doug Peterson, and I think, judging purely regular season, your argument Brian Daboll is perfectly fine. And I think if he wins, nothing bad to say about it at all. The Jaguars have back-to-back first overall picks. They were the worst team in the league twice. They hired Urban Meyer, superstar head coach from college, didn't even last a season. It looked like Trevor Lawrence's career was over before it started, in a sense, because he got in the Sam Darnold situation where he would just get grilled and be out of there without ever getting a fair shot. But Doug Peterson comes in, turns his team from a slow start, no less, but he manages to keep this team afloat. The Titans struggle at the back end of the season, and when it comes down to it, the very last game of the season with everything on the line, he outcoaches Mike Vrabel, who's been, by the way, a fantastic coach for many years, and he makes the playoffs with Jacksonville. Not only that, but he comes back from a 29-point deficit against the Chargers in the playoffs. So not only does he take them to the playoffs, he wins a playoff game, takes a team from back-to-back first overall picks to top 4 in the AFC. It's hard to argue against that. I think he started arguably with even less than Brian Daboll did, considering Daboll had the more established quarterback, the more established running back, maybe overall a bit less talent on the receiving side of it, but a lot of very good young defensive players. Giants' defensive line is ferocious. So I'll give it to Peter. I'll give it not Peterson, but it's picking. You kind of picking straws, but I'm gonna go Peterson. Brian Daboll makes sense to me. Doug Peterson to me. What do you think about that? Did you consider him at all?
Oh, absolutely, because he's kind of on that same level. I mean, he does have a future absolute superstar in the league. But yeah, he did the same thing. I mean, this was the first overall pick last year for a reason, and the mess that Urban Meyer left behind. Absolutely, I would say that he should be up for it. I still don't think he's going to win, but I think he should be in consideration. Absolutely.
Let's go with Comeback Player of the Year.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if this should be a guy who was not playing last year. And of course, people are going to mention like Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley, but these guys played. I mean, yeah, they had some injured games, but for the most part, they were playing in the past seasons. However, Geno Smith did not play. And where was he? The Giants last year, or wherever he was at?
The Giants.
Yeah. Geno Smith.
No, he was on Seattle. He was on Seattle. He was just a backup for Wilson for a few years.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah. Well, the last time he played was with the Giants, I believe, a game or two, or it might even been the Jets, if I remember right. But either way, he has been a backup. Seemed like he was going to be a perennial backup, a career-long backup at this point, but he absolutely turned around and became a legitimate starting quarterback in the league. So I have to go with Geno Smith.
Yeah, it's difficult not to. I do tend to agree. It's usually the injury comeback story, but Smith has a couple of things speaking for him. Number one, he was completely out of left field. No one expected this. If we predict the Comeback Player of the Year ahead of the season, I know Barkley and McCaffrey would be probably the top 2 names on that list. But no one would talk about Geno Smith. Not even close. We had a discussion, but is it going to be him or Drew Lock that gets to go 3-14 with Seattle? That was basically it. That was all we talked about. And he damn near made the playoffs. Yeah. Played head and shoulders above Russell Wilson this year. And made it look like, this was the probably the most one-sided trade in NFL history. With the Russell Wilson trade. So, yeah, I think... And also he's a quarterback, obviously. A quarterback bonus always goes because it's just a more difficult position to play. And also just, bigger stars usually, more noticeable. So Geno Smith is likely to win this one. I agree with it. I'll come back to this one later when I give my 49ers theory, as you can imagine. But
yeah,
I'm going Geno Smith reluctantly because it's Seattle, but we're gonna go with it. Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Well, I think that someone else is going to win than who I'm picking, but it goes right along with that Giants team who absolutely became formidable in this league, and one of the pieces they added was Kayvon Thibodeau last season. And Kayvon Thibodeau became a legitimate starter and just hanging with a lot of established guys. Like, I expect in seasons coming he's going to be a Defensive Player of the Year. But who do I think will win? I think it's going to be Aiden Hutchinson, to tell you the truth. And it's a similar situation, a team that added a piece in the first round last year, high in the first round last year. And it turned the defense around. The defense is looking decent. They were able to hang with teams. They almost made the playoffs. I think the Giants had a little bit better defense in the end, so that's why I would go with Thibodeau. But I think Aiden Hutchinson wins this one in the end.
Yeah, Thibodeau's not a finalist. I think he also had a great rookie season, and you could make an argument. You could definitely make an argument for him. I think I'm also going Hutchinson as my personal favorite. I'll get to why that is, but if we're going to who do you think is going to win, I'd have to give it to Gardner. I have to go Sauce Gardner, and I think here's why. These awards are picked by the Associated Press, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, I think the AP is also the ones that pick the All-Pro teams. Pro Bowl is fan voted. The All-Pro team is voters, is press voters. That's sort of the difference between the two. And which of those you want to attribute more credit to, you kind of debatable. But Sauce Gardner was a first-team All-Pro.
Yes.
And you'd think that same organization vote of first-team All-Pro, probably the Defensive Rookie of the Year, because the other two were not All-Pros. So that's what to me speaks in favor of Gardner. Stats speak in favor of Hutchinson for sure. Yeah, he's top 20 in sacks, 9.5 sacks. And in fact, this is kind of a funny stat that I dug up for this one, but just to give you a comparison, Aiden Hutchinson has more interceptions than Sauce Gardner this year.
I did not know
He's
that.
Defensive lineman versus a quarterback. Just like he has 3, Gardner has 2 picks. And some of these picks that Hutchinson had were huge, by the way. He really came onto the scene in bursts, and he took over games. He had like 3 sack games, interception and 2 sacks, forced fumbles. He made, to me, more impact plays than Gardner did, which is why I think I'd give him the award. And also, he showed that he should have been the number 1 overall pick, which he wasn't. To me, that's kind of the value there. Of course, you could argue cornerback is a tougher position for a year 1 player as well, especially when you're in the AFC East. You're playing Stephon Diggs twice, and then you go play against Justin Jefferson. You play Tyreek Hill twice. The competition's great, but I'm gonna give it to Hutchinson. I think he jumped off the screen a little bit more. Who do I think is gonna win? I'll have to go Gardner though.
Yeah.
How about the offensive side of the year? Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Have a feeling I know who you're going to pick. Who I would pick would absolutely be Kenneth Walker, because as we see year after year, a running back can come into this league and absolutely be ready to go game 1, take over as the starting running back, and be proficient at it. And Kenneth Walker was a highly drafted running back for as far as running backs go. That's absolutely who I would pick. I think if Dameon Pierce would have made it to the end of the season, he would be in this. But who do I think wins it is Garrett Wilson. I think the voters tend to like the flashier players, so why wouldn't you go with a wide receiver here? I think any of these names could be thrown, any of the finalists, that is, could win this one. I think it's up for grabs. I'm not going to give out your pick, but I think I know who your pick is, but I will say Kenneth Walker.
All right, listen, Brock Purdy's going to win this award, right?
Exactly.
Listen, I know he's played half a season and people are going to criticize it, but he's playing the hardest position. That's number one. He's played it better than any of the other two are playing their positions. That's number two. He's won 2 playoff games, which no one expected him to do. That's number 3. And it's just the best story. Again, this is press voted, and they want a story. He's Mr. Irrelevant. It's, the whole Mr. Irrelevant to Mr. Relevant thing. Then he got hurt in this, dramatic fashion. And they're already going to hype him up for, the comeback story for next year and everything. Just by complete, just the fate of how things happened, he just happens to be a press darling. And it's just not gonna change, I think. So, obviously, I want him to win. I think he deserves to win because what he's done is extraordinary. He's going to completely change the way that we think about quarterbacks and we think about evaluating quarterbacks, in my opinion. And I think he actually will win because it's just the best story and he has been really that impressive. Now, if enough voters will look at it that way and consider that, look past the body of work, being kind of limited, but when he's been playing, he's been absolutely flawless. He's been absolutely perfect. By many measurable metrics, the best quarterback in the league whenever he's played. So yeah, I'm going Purdy. I'm going Brock Purdy. And
I will say, as far as what you're saying, I would say regular season he played perfect. He had a few struggles in the playoffs here against the Cowboys, and of course I'll take this game out because of the injury or whatever. But
yeah, against Dallas, he played a top 3 defense in the league, right? Mm-hmm. Sure, but he still played good and he won. It's played probably better than Jalen Hurts did against Dallas. Can't complain. Didn't make mistakes. He protects the ball. He's turned it over twice and the whole time. If you want to count that fumble, that strip sack fumble that was not his fault against Philly, he's turned it over 3 times since taking over. Dak Prescott turns over 3 times just on a Monday morning practice session.
Now so I'm trying to remember if Dak probably won Offensive Rookie of the Year that year in 2016, right?
For sure. For sure he did. So Brock has gone head-to-head with Dak, shown he's clearly better, played clearly better in that game. He's beaten the brakes off Tom Brady, Derek Carr. He's beaten some competition, right? He's beaten some names. I know people don't want to give credit because, the team, the coaching's so great. Purdy should win this one. Mm-hmm. Plain and simple. He's done enough. He's done enough with the playoffs, and then we know playoffs matter even though they shouldn't. He's done enough. Let's go to the big ones, right? The big awards. Mm-hmm. Offensive Player of the Year first.
Being a fantasy guy, I really want to pick the guy who won. Actually, you know what? I'm going to, because I still think he should win. I think he should. I mean, unless they go with a quarterback, but that's usually reserved for MVP, right? So they want to get away from quarterback when voting for Offensive Player of the Year. So I think my guy that I'm going to pick is going to win this in the end also. I think it's going to be Justin Jefferson. Absolutely, this season, and maybe even last season, you could argue, and probably one of the best rookies when he started. Justin Jefferson has been a top 5 wide receiver in the league since he entered the league, and this year was his best overall. I mean, the Vikings probably wouldn't even been in half of those games they were in, much less winning them, and they had a ton of wins this year, mostly due to Justin Jefferson. When those games that came down, the Giants, and what was the other big game that? Even the Colts, the 33-point comeback.
Bills
Justin,
game. Huge.
Yeah. Justin Jefferson was the key in that. Kirk Cousins knew if he just put the ball in the vicinity of Justin Jefferson, he's going to grab this. Now, The only other name I could even think of that's in the voting that has a chance is Tyreek Hill, but there's no way he had anywhere near the season that Justin Jefferson had. And you can blame that on quarterback situations with Tua going out or whatever. Maybe he would have been in the running, which he's a finalist, so whatever you want to say for that. I think Justin Jefferson wins this one in the end.
Okay, I'll also argue for Justin Jefferson. I'll argue the other way around, kind of by deduction. Because I'm starting by looking at all the other three guys that are actually finalists for this one. So Patrick Mahomes is not going to win it because he's going to win MVP, and no one gets both awards at the same time. Tyreek Hill is not going to win it because Justin Jefferson is just strictly better in terms of numbers in every single category than Hill. Now they're the top two receivers in the league, but Jefferson, more receptions, more yards, more touchdowns, no fumbles, whereas Tyreek turned the ball over once, lost one fumble, more yards per game, just every single category. The difference isn't huge, but it's just there. So why? And I argue play with the worst quarterback, comparing Cousins to Tua. So Jefferson, and then Jalen Hurts, which no, not Jalen Hurts.
No,
I don't want that. I don't want it to be two quarterbacks, really. I think the offensive player of the year is the non-quarterback offensive MVP kind of thing, so I don't want it to be another quarterback. And maybe they want to keep the suspense of Hurts being still in the MVP race, right? So they'll not give it to him. Yeah. Jefferson wins this one. Going to the defensive side.
Man, I think we're going to agree on this one. The argument for Micah Parsons, I guess there is one to be made there. I don't know that Chris Jones is going to have a chance in the end here. But Micah Parsons being the defensive rookie of the year last season kind of boosts him up. And the Cowboys did have a top 5 defense all season. No doubt that Micah Parsons is a great player. But who had a better defense overall? That was the 49ers. I think we're going to agree here that Nick Bosa is not only my pick, but he will win this award.
He is going to win this award. He better win this award. I don't know about the Chris Jones nomination. I guess he's a defensive tackle, so it's a bit more of a special situation. One thing I will say, though, I've noticed about this is this has become essentially a pass rusher award. I remember the last time a non-defensive lineman or pass rusher won this was, I think, Stephon Gilmore, 2018 or 19?
Oh, yeah.
And we don't really talk about defensive backs or linebackers that much anymore. And I know Micah Parsons is kind of a hybrid player, which is why people want to make the argument for him, which is an argument I don't like. Because he accumulates more stats in total. That's because he plays more positions and he just plays a lot more snaps than Nick Bosa. But we look at the impact plays. The quarterback sacks are the most impactful play you can probably make aside of an interception on defense. So Bosa has 2.5 ahead of everyone else. Parsons, in fact, only 13.5. Which isn't bad, but it's not defensive player of the year status. And Bosa missed one game, whereas Parsons did not. I think Hassan Reddick should have probably been the other nominee outside of Chris Jones for the game that he actually had with Philadelphia. And he's also forced 5 fumbles, which is as much as Bosa and Parsons combined. And Chris Jones only had 2. So that to me should have been the nomination. I don't know why this is turning into only a pass rusher thing. I guess because that's kind of the most obvious sort of impact that you see. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't give it to like a shutdown corner, for example. You remember, it was really hard for Darrelle Revis to win a whole lot of awards because no one ever called his name. Which, if you're a cornerback, is about the best thing that can happen to you. But it's not flashy, right? Same with offensive linemen. The only time we ever recognize offensive linemen is when like Trent Williams is the highest graded player in the league. PFF. But that's about it. Otherwise, we don't talk about them because it's a good thing because you only talk about them when they make mistakes. Kind of similar for corners. So Bosa should win this one. Absolutely agree on that. And finally, we have the MVP.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth on this one. There's 2 names, actually 3 names I'm thinking of, and if you take the NFL is rigged argument into this, then Patrick Mahomes wins heads down, right? But like you said, it's the AP voting on it. I don't know that the NFL is going to get to them and say, we need our golden boy to win here. I guess it is possible. But I would say, as far as, a new face in the crowd, they may be picking Jalen Hurts in this, because look how that team has been firing all season. The most wins in the end. That it's definitely a possibility. But my pick is obviously Patrick Mahomes. I mean, not only is he the golden boy of the NFL, but he did have one of his best seasons ever, and it will not be the first time he has won this award, and probably not the last. He's going to win it a few times more into the future. Joe Burrow, there's an argument to be made for him, but I think Patrick Mahomes wins in the end if they don't go with the feel-good story of Jalen Hurts. Josh Allen, Justin Jefferson's going to win Offensive Player of the Year, so that's probably not going to happen. Josh Allen had some bad games, and all those interceptions at the end of the season did not help whatsoever. I'll go with Patrick Mahomes.
I will also go Mahomes, and I think there's kind of two ways to argue this. Number one is just purely statistically. If you compare him to any other quarterback who's played a sufficient amount of games, he leads the league in passer rating, with the exception of Tua Tagovailoa and Jimmy Garoppolo that are kind of close to him, but those guys have missed too many games. He leads the league in passing yards, and he's arguably out of the... If you remember the final four teams in the championship game, Chiefs roster is the weakest roster. Their defense is by far the worst. He's playing with a below average defense. Okay, this is approaching like Aaron Rodgers territory, where he's legitimately carrying this organization on his back by himself. He has a much better coach than Aaron Rodgers has ever had, but it's getting to that point, and that tends to be recognized. Aaron Rodgers has won a lot of MVPs, hasn't been to a lot of Super Bowls because the team's too bad, but it sticks out more, right? And the other argument is just the one that I bring up every single year, which is, let's take a step back and look what these words mean. Most valuable player, right? And that is, who is the most value-adding player to their respective teams. Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes both won their championships. Great. Who had the greater part in their team winning the championship? Not a close deal at all. Patrick Mahomes by a landslide. Jalen Hurts has the best defense in the league. He has the top three running game in the league. He has the best offensive line. Patrick Mahomes doesn't have any of that. He lost his best receiver in the offseason, replaced with Marquez Valdes-Scantling. He has a pretty suspect defense. He's also playing on a damn near broken ankle. And he's still winning games. And still leading the league in passer rating. Yeah, Mahomes is the reason the Chiefs are winning. Okay, Jalen Hurts is a contributor. He's a fitting piece, and he's doing it right, and he's a dynamic player. But Mahomes is the reason the Chiefs are winning. The Chiefs might not make the playoffs if this was like quarterback number 16. Because there might be a very average team very quickly. Similar to like the Packers comparison I like to make. Joe Burrow is, I think, to me, the second closest that you can argue, because he's also very much the reason the Bengals are winning and the Bengals are successful.
Well, he has
to a lesser
some
degree,
dynamic receivers out there, though.
He does have dynamic receivers, but remember, he was the first overall pick. He gets hurt that year, Bengals go nowhere. He comes back, they go to the Super Bowl. This team very much lives and dies by Joe Burrow and by his ability to protect the ball and play in such a careful manner, but careful but productive manner. Josh Allen is probably the most gifted player. He has the highest upside out of all of them, and he's probably going to win an MVP or two just because like he puts a chain of 16, 17 games together in which he plays at his best, and when he does that, no one else can match him. But he also has that sort of volatility that he mixes in 2-3 games too many every year. That he kind of takes unnecessary risks, and maybe play calling isn't exactly helping him either, and that's happened this year. Remember, like, throughout most of the season, we kind of thought he was going to run away with it because he was playing at an unmatchable level at the start, and then those mistakes crept in, a couple bad games crept in, and we kind of lost it a little bit because the Bills didn't go that far either. We'll definitely see more of him, but it's got to be Mahomes. It's got to be Mahomes this year. He definitely earned it. More than ever has he been the most valuable player. Not just the best on the Chiefs, but the most valuable by far. That's
Let's not forget,
that's the
Joe Burrow has, some would say, a top 10 running back also playing behind him, whereas Patrick Mahomes has, what, a sixth rounder?
Yeah.
Isaiah Pacheco.
Like a mix
Clyde
of Jerick
Edwards-Helaire was not a key in that running game for sure, but he was a first rounder a couple seasons ago.
He got hurt early on in the year. Then you have like your rotating McKinnon and Pacheco.
Yeah.
You have one truly elite like offensive player in Travis Kelce, and that's about it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you look at what's surrounding Jalen Hurts, I mean that's a Pro Bowl roster in Philadelphia from top to bottom, and that's not the case for Kansas City, which will, by the way, lead to an interesting discussion next week when we have to pick this game, because it's going to be these two guys. But no, Mahomes wins it to me.
Now
that
I do think about
awards.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to add this one point. I do think about the year that Lamar Jackson won and how much they do like a gimmicky offense now. So
they do.
They tend to like those running quarterbacks when they can pull it out there. So
because they're flashy, right?
Yeah. I mean, some would argue that season that Patrick Mahomes should have won that one also, but he was coming off of a MVP season.
He'd won it the year before.
Yeah.
And the Ravens had the best record that year.
Yeah, they were the Eagles of that year.
Yeah, they didn't have the playoff success.
No, they definitely didn't. They didn't make the Super Bowl that year.
Could have argued that Patrick Mahomes should have won it that year as well. That is right.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's gonna get it this year. that is my point. But I have one theory to offer. This is my theory. That's been brewing since about week 13, 14. Okay, so this is my I call it the 49ers win every award theory, and that's kind of what it is. So here's the thing. Right? I'm gonna make a compelling case for the Niners to win the majority of these awards, right? And you can tell me like how far-fetched they are and whatnot. So starting off with like most obvious to least obvious, Nick Bosa is like more or less a lock, right? He's an odds-on favorite by far. Defensive Player of the Year. Lock it in. We're good. We got it. Brock Purdy, Comeback Player of the Year. Maybe has like a 30-40% chance right now.
You mean
Rookie of the Year, sorry. Rookie of the Year. We can see that very reasonably happen. Mm-hmm. Now here's the arguments I'm gonna give you. Right, Comeback Player of the Year, Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah,
came back from injury, was by far the Niners' best offensive player. He went into an offense that we thought was probably top 3 in talent in the league and was by far their best player, learning a pretty complicated playbook and even earning himself the honorary role of 5th string quarterback along the way. And their highest score, he scored a touchdown every single game. Broke like I think a 30-year-old streak in doing so. Ever since he was added and he started the game, they have not lost a single game save for the one game in the playoffs where they didn't have a quarterback. He added more value to a team than any player ever being acquired in a long time. And in Carolina, he was kind of lost. I remember there was a time where he was like the number 1 fantasy player getting picked because of his dual threat ability. He's had rushing touchdowns, receiving touchdowns, and a passing touchdown since coming to San Francisco. He's been a perfect fit for the offense. Most dynamic weapon by far. So to me, he is the comeback player because the comeback player should be the player that we're most excited about seeing a full season of next year. Not so much for Geno Smith. Saquon, yeah, but it's the Giants. Yeah. I'll see a full season of McCaffrey and see if he can't like get maybe 1,000 rushing, 1,000 receiving, a kind of situation. Get Offensive Player of the Year sort of numbers. If he stays healthy, I really think he could because he's in that situation. So that's one argument I'll make. It's more of an outside one, but he is in the voting. Coach of the Year, Kyle Shanahan could do it. Here's my argument for that. He went to the NFC Championship with a 3rd string Mr. Irrelevant quarterback. And then with a 4th string quarterback, and then with a running back throwing passes. Yeah. He's made more with less. You argued for Brian Daboll during the regular season. I can see that. But he's done more with less when it comes to winning and success than anyone else has. Because when Garoppolo went out, remember, they didn't have a playoff spot locked up. They were at that point kind of favored to win the NFC West, but they didn't have it locked up. So he loses his starter week 2. He loses his long-term reliable veteran. I don't know what was this, or something around week 11 or so, or week 12. And then Mr. Irrelevant comes in and he doesn't lose. He straight up just does not lose and basically almost gets the 1 seed. Just makes the 2 seed. Mostly thanks to Shanahan calling an incredible offense around him. So that's an argument there. There's more out there because it's unlikely for a coach to kind of get that kind of recognition if he's been there for a while and has had success previously. You've brought this up, but they like to give that award to an emerging coach who's been there for the first year or who's turned the team around, right? The turnaround happened years ago, and they're having regular success now. But I could argue because of the quarterback situation. And then I'm going to go with the one that we haven't actually talked about today, which is Executive of the Year. And I think this is pretty realistic, if we're being honest, which is John Lynch. John Lynch did the following things in the last 365 days. Extended Deebo Samuel whenever everything looked like he was going to go out. He was done. No one believed he would come back. Found a way to extend him. Drafted Brock Purdy, who turns out to be a fantastic quarterback and took them to the NFC Championship game. And he also traded for Christian McCaffrey, who I've read his accolades out just now, right? So I think John Lynch as Executive of the Year, very, very good argument there. And then there's also Assistant Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
The D'Amico Ryans arguments makes itself, right? So then the only awards that we don't have going to San Francisco is Defensive Rookie and Offensive Player of the Year and the MVP. Those are the only ones.
Is there anyone? Well, I mean, obviously you don't have any.
I can't find anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, MVP, no chance at all. Offensive Player of the Year. If McCaffrey wins Comeback Player, he can't be Offensive Player, so no. Trent Williams, I don't know, give it to a lineman. There's your argument. And then Defensive Rookie, nah, there is one. If it wasn't his second year, Hufanga, who's an All-Pro, would have probably actually won it. But Defensive Rookie, I don't have one. Drake Jackson was hurt for too long.
I mean, I definitely don't think you're going to win all of those. I think you have a good shot at winning at least 2 of them. I think D'Amico Ryans, absolutely, he's the favorite right now from what I hear as far as assistant coach. Shanahan, I really do think that they're going to give it to one of the upstarts, if you will. Probably Sirianni or Dayball or Peterson. And like you said, that him having the longevity is actually working against him in that situation. So, but it's still possible. It really is. Christian McCaffrey, he's right there with Geno and Saquon, so there's a good chance of that one. And Brock Purdy. I don't think this happens. I think it's a good story, and I think a lot of people are cheering for the underdog here. But I don't think it happens, especially after that last game or the last couple of games, like I said. I know it's a regular season award, but it doesn't tend to lean that way. I mean, there's a reason why most of the years we see playoff team players in this. And I know that good players makes their teams better and they make the playoffs. But
okay, I have a question then.
Yeah.
Yeah, what did Kenneth Walker and Garrett Wilson do in the playoffs this year?
Well, not much.
Not a whole lot. They watched it. They probably ate chips and watched it.
That's true. But I mean, Rookie of the Year is a little. I mean, a lot of times we do. See like the Rookie of the Year on offense and defense come from a team that is underperforming in the end.
I'll say for Purdy, I'll say this, right? It's really just a question. I think everyone unanimously would agree that if he had played the whole season, he'd win this. It would be the least discussed award, like by far, right? So it's really just a quality versus quantity argument. How much more does quality matter when it is a quarterback and when he plays the way he has played versus a running back or receiver who are, for all intents and purposes, kind of supplementary to an offense, can very much big impact players, but not as central, right? It's a quality quantity argument, and I'm picking.
Well, that's
quality.
absolutely it. And a lot of people are going to bring that up and say, well, wasn't the team set up to go to the playoffs before he took over, basically? All he had to do was play just well enough to hold them in it. And
he did more than that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I like Purdy. He's a good guy.
And by the way, I saw a report today. This is kind of anecdotal and not on-field related, but to me this plays into the ward. It was Brock Purdy who studied like overtime with Christian McCaffrey the playbook when he was traded to San Francisco in the middle of the season. So that he would sit with him on Friday nights and study the playbook, go through the play sheets for the weekend, because he didn't have to obviously prepare as a starter just yet, and that's contributing. That's helping, Yeah. So there it is. Help the team's success.
Hey, I bet the Cardinals are wishing they had Brock Purdy at this point in time if he's actually going to study the playbook. Because apparently their quarterback doesn't do that.
Or he needs to be incentivized to do
it. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. And the coach got fired for it.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, that's a weird stipulation, but there had to be a reason in the beginning why it was put in there.
Yeah, I don't think the Cardinals are going to have a lot of success coming up.
Probably
and
not.
I'm not mad about it, like, at all.
Oh, man. What are the chances I know they just signed a contract, but what are the chances that he's not even there in 2 seasons?
Kyler?
Yeah.
Pretty low, because they fired the coach so they can keep him. And they already said he's going to have like a say in picking the next coach, which all does not sound like good ideas to me at all. It might be a similar situation to Dallas where like the wrong guy gets blamed. Like in Dallas, what I'm talking about is Kellen Moore of all people was the one who got the axe, not Dak, not Mike McCarthy. And Kellen Moore got swooped up instantly by the Chargers, which I already told you, by the way. I'm looking forward to that. I think he's a pretty good play caller. Give him Justin Herbert. I think this is a huge upgrade from Joe Lombardi going to Dak, going to Kellen Moore. This is a big upgrade in play calling, and the Chargers offense is going to be something next year, and I'm looking forward to it. I think the Cowboys offense is going to be worse, because Kellen Moore was actually pretty good at calling plays, and he was in discussion for a head coaching job after last year. If you remember that.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, of course, he's to blame for those last 2 plays in those respective games, but other than that,
that's what I was gonna say.
He's not throwing those interceptions.
I can't wait to see Austin Eckler playing center.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen. I doubt it. Because the Chargers have probably the best center in the league as well. But no. He didn't go out and throw those interceptions or like let the league interception ratio and everything. It's not his fault.
That was just that's got to go down as the worst play of the season, right?
Yeah.
Is there a worse play in the entire season?
Given the stakes and everything around it, that's the one.
Absolutely.
For sure. All right. So, do you have anything to add to these awards for now?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, cool. So we'll wrap it up. That is our picks. We have 7 awards listed here. Executive, we didn't mention specifically, but I'm just going, John Lynch. Let us know all your picks for these and the rationale behind them, please. I'm always interested with the predictions every week. Yeah, everyone can have sort of like a nick or an opinion. With the picks for the NFL honors, I want to hear reasons. I want to hear the rationale for every single one, especially if it's a controversial one. So one that's not clear, comeback player or something, maybe defensive rookie. I want the reason behind it, because that's always to me the most interesting to hear about. But please let us know in the comments what you think, who should win these awards. We'll find out over the weekend, and then next week maybe we'll touch on it really quick, see if anything egregious happened. Doesn't seem like the kind of year where something very egregious would happen. What's the biggest upset here that you could see?
Maybe Brock Purdy.
Purdy's not the biggest upset. He played the best out of all of them.
Oh, there's gonna be a lot of backlash if he does win that award. Believe it.
Yeah, sure. But I don't care.
Chris Jones. That would be a big upset.
Chris Jones is a big upset. That I will agree with. Tariq Woolen, maybe. Those two.
Yeah. Tariq Woolen, definitely.
I mean, okay, if you gave Justin Jefferson the MVP, that's the biggest upset. But that's not going to happen realistically. So Jones, Woolen, maybe those, yeah.
Sean McDermott, maybe, after those... the ending of the season.
Yeah,
there.
That's a good call. That is a very good point. That would be a big upset. I don't see it happening. But that's why it would be an upset.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's for sure. Let us know your picks. We're going to see you in the next one.
Deuces.
Check the scoreboard. Ha.